What is the dumbest thing you've ever done for absolutely no reason? I'm 34 years old and my dad still tells the following story of me doing a dumb thing to anyone willing to listen. When I was 8 years old I got a pack of Big League chew gum. I was hanging out in the garage with my dad and when he saw I was about to open the gum he said, "Now whatever you do not put this in your eye." I said okay, I won't. I then walked into the house, went upstairs into my bathroom, chewed on a ton of gum, took it out of my mouth and put it on my eye. The gum was the perfect texture of sticky and stuck to my eyebrow and all my eyelashes. My eye was completely glued shut from the gum. I immediately ran downstairs for my dad's help, completely hysterical with a huge wad of gum stuck to my eye. I still remember my dad yelling WTF, TLDR. Dad told me not to put gum in my eye. I said okay and immediately put gum in my eye. When I was about 8, I was walking out of school. I picked up some pink fairy floss, cotton candy, off the ground and put it in my mouth. It was insulation. When I was 6 or 7 years old I would sit on marshmallows until I squished them very thin. Then I would place them over my heating grate, then proceed to eat them, washing them down with ginger ale sucked from a paper towel that I would dip into said Canada Dry ginger ale in a glass. The 1980s were weird for me. A long time ago, I was playing with an electrical socket in my undeveloped basement, where they're fully exposed. I managed to get it to shoot sparks and embers everywhere, and create quite the light show. In hindsight, I'm kind of surprised I didn't burn the house down and that socket still works all these years later. When I was young I took an Altoids container, put 3 pennies in it, then added toothpaste on top of the pennies and filled it with water, closed it and stored it in my closet for months until my dad found it. Maybe not the dumbest but a recent one on my mind. I was in my office with the door closed, got up from my desk to walk out and knocked on the door before opening it and walking into the hallway. Was a backseat passenger in my friend's car and decided to open the door and just kind of roll out while driving down the street. My father had a glass cutter that consisted of a diamond embedded in the tip of a metal rod. I decided to witness its amazing cutting power exhibited in cartoons. So I tried to cut a circle in our garage door window glass. The scar still rests in the glass 36 years later. Speaking of cartoons, I once said, "Mom, look at me, I'm in a cartoon." Then proceeded to jump on a wood handle rake that was laying on the ground. It sounded like thunder went off in my head, and my mom said it sounded like when a Major League Baseball player hits a home run. I had a concussion, and learned that day that I am in fact not a cartoon character. When I was little I threw my ballet shoes into a toilet I had just peed in. I have no idea why. I then ran to my mom, who couldn't decipher through my hysterical crying what was going on. To this day I still have no idea why I did it, but I remember feeling that I had to do it. You had too. Wondered what would happen if I pedaled the bicycle as fast as I could and then brake it as hard as I could. P.S. I hit my crotch at the middle of the handlebar and also flew a couple of meters onto asphalt. When I was 10 my sister and I were throwing stuffed animals at each other from our rooms, doorways right across from each other. At some point I just grabbed some double A batteries and threw them. Hit her right in the head. Dad was less than happy. I used to drink cans of soda by stabbing them with a push-pin thumbtack. If I just pulled it out there would be a stream of wasted soda. So I would pull the tack out with my teeth while creating a seal with my lips. One time I accidentally swallowed the tack. One emergency room visit and a few x-rays later I was sent home to dig through my poo. I was 14. You know those old cigarette lighters in cars? Nobody in my immediate family smokes. And when I was younger, I pressed it in and it popped out. I pulled it out to inspect. It was just grey coils. It didn't look red hot or anything. So I tested that sucker the best way I knew how. I stuck it to my tongue. When I was 5 I wanted to see if pepper made you sneeze like in the cartoon, so I shoved a black peppercorn up there. Burned like heck. When we're kids my sister was curious about the same thing, so she got our younger brother to stand there looking up while she used a pepper grinder to grind pepper over his face. She did not tell him to close his eyes. When I was 10 I saw this cool magic trick where you soaked a dollar bill in rubbing alcohol and the alcohol burns off and your dollar bill stays intact. So stupid 10-year-old me was home alone one day when my mom left me $20 to order food with. I ended up soaking it in rubbing alcohol and burning it, causing it to disintegrate into ash immediately. I have an amazing ability to pick up almost any bug carefully and efficiently without hurting them. So when I first discovered this when I was about 5 or 6, I went and collected 44 ants, got some dirt, and made my own ant colony in my room, under my bed. I relate. I used to put ants inside of a Barbie car and take them on drives. Years ago, when Devil's Night was still a thing, on a lark, I lit a piece of toilet paper that was hanging from a well-TP'd tree. It acted like a fuse. All the TP in the tree went up. I did something like this once, only the TP was part of my mummy costume. It wasn't a very good costume. The fire may have actually improved it. Fortunately, I was wearing a lumberjack grade flannel underneath, and nothing burned except the TP. That was the day I got to actually use stop, drop and roll. When I was 12 my friend and I put a bunch of plastic cups filled with hot sauce in the middle of the street. A person slammed on their brakes when they saw the cups and got rear-ended right in front of my house. As a kid, my brother had perfect curly hair and wanted a haircut for picture day to look like his friend who had short hair. So he gave himself one with zigzag scissors. I want to see his school picture. Me and my brothers would tie ropes to each other and run in opposite directions. Did it to trees too. I tried to bungee jump from a tree with just a regular old rope. That one hurt pretty bad. I tried to bungee jump from a tree with just a regular old rope. That one hurt pretty bad. Pretty sure that's just called a suicide attempt. When I was like 12 I found out golf balls bounce extremely well on pavement. So obviously I wanted to see how high I could bounce it. I threw the ball as hard as I could straight down, and it ricocheted straight back up, directly into my face. When I was a wee boy I woke up early before everyone, went down to the kitchen, grabbed a chair, brought it to the fridge and took the small metal pencil sharpener from the top. I decided to sharpen my pinky first thing in the morning so I can have a sharp finger. Ended up waking the parents up and bleeding profusely. Mayo kids are so freaking stupid. When I was about 9-10 years old, I threw a piece of pie into my neighbor's yard. Turns out my neighbor was in her yard. She came and knocked on my door while a piece of pie flew out of nowhere and almost hit her. Strangest thing I got in trouble for. One time I was eating a lemon poppy seed muffin. The phone rang, so I reacted by shoving the entire muffin in my mouth and eating it as fast as I could, nearly choking to death. And I didn't even make it to the phone before it stopped ringing. Why did I do that? So you can answer the phone, duh. During a traffic stop, while trying to act casual, I handed a police officer $50 instead of the license he asked for. When I was a kid I went into my parents' bathroom. I found my dad's razor and I decided to scrape it against my tongue. My whole tongue. I started screaming in pain immediately after. Didn't need those taste buds anyway. I jumped up and, successfully, bit the string that is used to pull the attic door down. It had a metal bead on it. Immediately after I remember thinking holy crap I actually got it in my mouth and broke the string. Then I realized the string was still there, but half my front tooth wasn't. As the best man at my wedding said the attic string went fishing for idiots and caught one. When I was maybe 10-12, I threw one of my dad's golf clubs that had no head on it like a spear down the hallway after telling my brother it would be cool. The result was a golf club hanging out of a hole in the wall and an extremely grounded me. Microwaved a pen for 2 minutes in the workplace microwave. To this day I do not know why I did that. Update. I'm still at the same job. The pen was a friction pilot. When the ink smoke cleared and my senses came back to me, I quickly ran across the street to Lowe's and bought the same exact microwave to replace it with. I was never caught. Put a foil gum wrapper into an electrical outlet in the middle of a college class. Full story. This was during a graduate business school class. I was sitting in the back row bored out of my mind. I had a foil gum wrapper that I rolled into a horseshoe design. I then looked at the electrical outlet, and it was like my hand automatically started to move towards it. I remember in my head, I was saying, Don't do it. You know what will happen. But I couldn't stop. Once both ends of the foil wrapper were in two of the holes for the electrical outlet, there was a pop, a spark, and then some smoke. The guy next to me was so startled, he flew back in his chair against the wall. I shorted the whole row of outlets that everyone had their laptops connected to. The professor started walking up to my area to see what happened, so I pulled the wrapper out of the outlet and tried to play it off. He only came up partway and made some comment about sticky fingers. Later on, I was voted by my peers to be most likely to burn down the business school. So, I have that going for me. The fact that it was college makes this one. I chopped an aerosol paint can in half with an axe. I was far old enough to know better, but my cousin and I thought we had it worked out. My mom always said, one kid, one brain, two kids, no brains. Boy was she right. I was yellow for a week. Your mother is a wise woman. Angrily thwacked my laptop when the internet went out for the 10th time when I was trying to do my homework. Turns out I hit it where the hard drive was, and it never worked again. Lost the homework I was trying to do. 4th grade, the teacher asked a math question. I immediately raised my hand and shouted poop. No idea why I did this, but I was sent to detention for a week. Absolute savage. Lied to my new employer that I didn't have my social security card. I said it got ruined on a water ride at a theme park. A. I could have said I'll get a copy ASAP. B. It wouldn't have gotten ruined by that. C. Why the heck would I have had it with me on the ride? I once picked a guy's pocket and put it back just to see if I could do it without getting caught. I didn't get caught. It was the single dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, considering how bad it could have gone if I had gotten caught. True chaotic neutral. I have a bad habit of sucking cups around my lips mouth and then pulling it off so it makes that very satisfying pop sound. One day I was holding a plastic bowl and absent-mindedly stuck it to my mouth and tried to suction it to me face. Discovered it was too big. Moved it up over my nose and sucked. Proceeded to panic until I could pull the bowl off my face. Just got to exhale. Yesterday I was using a nail gun on the trim around the windows of my house. Being the idiot that I am, I decided to see what would happen if I shot a penny. The nail ricocheted off the penny, shot past my head, and ended up in the fridge behind me. Close call. As we were waiting in a line to see the Santa Claus as a kid, I decided a potted cactus outside the theater was fake. It did not look fake, and stuck my hands all over it to see what it felt like. I also convinced my brother, who was standing with me, to try it as well. We ended up with dozens of tiny, painful cactus spikes stuck in each of our hands, and we had to leave to remove them with sandpaper back at the house. I just remember my mom turning around in the line and dumbfoundedly asking, why the heck did you do that? To this day, I do not know. Sprayed hairspray onto a lamp while it was on. The bulb shattered, and when my parents asked what happened, I said I had no idea. I stuck my head in the opening of the back of our dining room chairs. My head was stuck for almost an hour as my granddad tried to butter me up to get my head out. I also did the same thing with our stairs banister. Needless to say, I was a stupid child. My tennis coach told me not to swing at a high ball because he was running through to pick up his loose ball. Well, I spiked that crap right into his face. I watched someone take a lid off a can of paint. It obviously needed to be stirred. She put the lid back on and tapped it gently, then handed it to me and asked me to shake it. I shook it a few times, and then turned it upside down. The lid fell off. Paint spilled everywhere. I knew it was going to happen, yet I did it anyway, as if I didn't believe myself. Got absolutely fractured on booze while camping. Went to bed, and woke up with an overpowering need to pee. Not just any pee, a raging torrent hammering at the gates of my poor bladder. It was dark, and I couldn't find the zipper. Didn't want to pee myself like a freaking drunk, so I felt around in a panic until I felt a seam. Ripped a huge hole in a brand new tent, just so I didn't embarrass myself. Agreed to wrestle my 6'4", 280 pounds friend in high school. I was 5'10", 160 pounds. The match lasted 4 seconds, and now I have a messed up knee for life. Told my wife she has an anger issue. It just came out, like, 10 minutes ago. We weren't even fighting. Guess what? She is freaking P right now. We were driving to a restaurant and wanted to see how long the wait was. My dad handed me the phone book and asked me to look up the number. For whatever reason, thought he said get rid of this. So I opened the window and chucked the phone book while we were going 70 miles per hour down the highway. That was over 10 years ago. I still get crap for it. Your unwavering and unquestioning obedience is admirable. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.